gospel reading this morning is from Matthew chapter 13, verses 1 through 9 and verses 18 to 23. That same day, Jesus went out of the house and sat beside the lake. Such great crowds gathered around him that he got into a boat and sat there, while the whole crowd stood on the beach. And he told them many things in parables, saying, "Listen, a sower went out to sow, and he sowed. Some seeds fell on the path, and the birds came and ate them up. Other seeds fell on rocky ground, where they did not have much soil, and they sprang up quickly, since they had no depth of soil. But when the sun rose, they were scorched, and since they had no root, they withered away. Other seeds fell among thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked them. Other seeds fell on good soil and brought forth grain, some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. Let anyone with ears listen. Hear then the parable of the sower. When anyone hears the word of the kingdom and does not understand it, the evil one comes and snatches away what is sown in the heart. This is like what was sown on the path. As for what was sown on the rocky ground, this is the one who hears the word and immediately receives it with joy, yet such a person has no root, but endures only for a while. And when trouble or persecution arises on account of the word, that person immediately falls away. As for what was sown among thorns, this is the one who hears the word, but the cares of the world and the lure of wealth choke the word, and it yields nothing. But as for what was sown on good soil, this is the one who hears the word and understands it, who indeed bears fruit and yields in one case 100-fold, in another 60, and in another 30. There's another section of this reading that isn't included in our lectionary. And I'm going to summarize it for you. It's the part that's between verses 10 and 17, the ones that were left out. And during those verses, Jesus' disciples came to him and they said, "How come you keep talking to people in these stories? Why don't you just tell them what's up?" And he said, "Because they won't understand. They won't get it. Seeing they do not see, hearing they do not hear." That's from that passage. And so I tell them in stories that they can understand. And then he does this little trick. And I admit I've done it on occasion too. When working with students, I say, "Now, you are smart enough to get it. I know that you've got it because you're smart and you're working on your learning and you're really delving to understand. But some of these other kids, they don't get it. We have to help them. We have to tell them stories that they can relate to. We have to make the word understandable for them." And so, yeah, I play that game with my students. And often what happens is that the ones I've said that to might not always have been that way, but they usually become more conscientious. And I have this suspicion that Jesus knew his disciples well enough that if they hadn't been quite paying attention all the time, that would make them, "Oh, I'm a good disciple, I'm going to pay attention." You know, so that whole section is left out of our lectionary reading, and I'm not sure why, because I actually think it's kind of important to think about, why does Jesus tell parables? And why does he use stories instead of all the profound truth? Now, the word parable for Greek, that word means to compare together. So it's sort of a story that helps us compare things. It's a way to look at things in a different way. And in today's parable, the sea in question was the Sea of Tiberias, a pretty large body of water. And they wanted to hear him speak, but because there were so many, he went a little further away, kind of like, of course, there are cords here today, where I'm back here a little bit with the microphone and you can hear me. And Jesus went out on the water, and sound carries very well over water. And that was probably part of why he went out and stood on the boat to talk to them. And as for this particular lesson, I think you know what it is, but right now I'm going to go through what I brought for the kids, which is just a little tiny booklet with some pictures, and just tell you about it. The first picture shows a man walking down in a field, throwing seeds around. That's the sower, someone planting seeds. A farmer reaching into a bag, pulling out grass seed, pulling out vegetable seeds, and tossing them onto the dirt. Now, they didn't have big farm machinery like we have now. They didn't have a big machine that would go down the rows and plow it up and till it out and dump the seed in and then cover it up behind it, which is what some farmers now have. I'm not a farmer, so I don't really know, but I have a friend who's a farmer, and she says they do that now. But in this case, often what happened in Palestine was that they would throw the seeds out on the dirt, then they would come behind with a plow to till the soil and have the dirt go back over the seeds. So just so you know. And of course in this one, some of his stuff is falling on the path beside him, so it's probably going to get picked up by the birds and eaten. Some of it falls where it's a little thinner, sprouts right up, and dies out from the heat. Some in thorns that choke them, like the desire for wealth and prestige and all of that. And some fall on good ground and good fruit. The usual tack with this sermon, when people come across this parable and preach about it, is to say to you, what kind of soil are you? Hopefully you're all a really deep, plowed, rich soil. So I'll tell you that's usually asked, and it is a good question. That's not where I'm going today with this, but it is a good question. Some things to consider. It's our job to spread that seed, that grain, that word of God. That is our job. We are the sowers. God is a sower. God, Jesus, us, we toss that seed absolutely everywhere. Path, thorns, rocks, good soil. Are we picky about who comes in the door to hear the word of God? We are not. We can't even know the depth of the soil within them. We can't know that. So it is our job to sow those seeds. Everybody we meet is going to be different. If you think of yourself about your friends and your neighbors, I know for a long time we've been shy, right? But just think about it anyway. If you're thinking about friends and neighbors, some of them aren't going to listen to you. They'll just brush it off. Some of them might listen right away, get all enthused, and then just never show up again. Some won't want anything to do with you or Jesus or that seed or that word. They're like the thorn bushes. They want to choke it out. And of course, some are the rich soil. But it's not up to us to decide whether or not to sow the seeds. That's where I'm going with this. Our job is to sow the seeds. God's kingdom is going to produce fruits no matter what the obstacles are. I've often said in Bible study that one of my favorite verses is the one that says, "My word will not return unto me void." Now it's a weird picture, but you know, even the ones that get picked up by the birds and eaten, probably going to come back as fertilizer. I mean, that's a little weird to say, you know, but doing it, sowing the seed where it falls on the path, that builds us up. That teaches us. It teaches us discipline. It teaches us courage. It teaches us hope. So that word that we threw on the path that the bird picked up and later will fertilize our other crops with, that didn't go to waste. Because what it did was teach us. The one on the shallow soil. This one always bothers me. Because we've had our share of people, that are kind of shallow soil. Quick burnouts. Again, of course, we are learning and we are growing from sharing that seed with them. We might gain confidence in our prayer life with praying with them and helping them. They might come back later, because I don't believe that it just goes totally to waste. But I learn something every single time I share with somebody. And another thing that has happened with some of those flash people, I call them flash people, they come in, they burn brightly, maybe they bring somebody else along, and the somebody else turns out to have really deep and good soil, even if the first one got burned out too quickly. Thorns, heat, aridity, birds, rocks, it doesn't matter. The Word of God is going to attain its purpose no matter what forces try to block it. Thorns, talk about thorns a little bit, just briefly. Sometimes the Word is there and it's starting to grow, and something else comes along and distracts somebody. It could be anger. It could be fear. It could be illness. It could be greed. It could be some sort of devastating life event that distracts that person, and that, at least for that time being, kind of chokes things out for them. I think we have more of a job when we come across and we throw seed on the ground and then we see thorns and weeds. Several of you are gardeners. When you have planted seeds and you see weeds coming up around them, or you see too much shade over them because some other tree has gone wacko with its branch, or you see dandelions, as pretty as they are, choking out green beans, what do? You pull the weeds. Now, when we have a person who's got weeds, that's harder. But we still can help them. We still can talk to them. We still can pray with them. We can try to help them get those weeds out of their life. Jesus in this teaches that bringing God's rule here to us is not necessarily automatic. It means we have to do some work. We have to plant seeds, we have to let them grow, and we shouldn't just get discouraged just because some birds pick up some of them. The birds are hungry. Just because some burn out quickly. There are those Christians who get choked by the hunger for power or wealth. Look at some of the big TV evangelist people. I don't for a minute think that all of those people started out with a business plan to be greedy and rip off the universe by posing as a Christian evangelist. I do think that some of them had an authentic salvation experience and an authentic desire to share the Word of God, and became blinded by all the other trappings that were going along with their very, very, very successful ministry. I know that many of those media personalities in the Christian media world are authentic, beautiful, caring, wonderful people that have much to teach us and much for us to learn from. And I know there are those that are bad apples that went into it just for the money in the first place, and there are those who turned. Our job is to pull the weeds. Our job is to tell the good stuff from the bad stuff and keep the good stuff growing. Sometimes one of those people that I think of as, I don't know, bad stuff, as the ones that are, sometimes they even say something that inspires me. Because they are often reading the Word of God to you. They are often quoting it. And every once in a while, something comes through, no matter what thorns are actually around them, the Word of God gets through anyway. Our job is to be the sowers, to plant the seeds, and to tend them and care for them. The seeds in this case are the Word of God, the gospel, the good news. We have a little project today, and you might think this is silly, or you might have fun with it. I hope you have fun with it. You see I have a table over here with strange things. And I also have a basket with some things in it and a couple of little packets. You have homework this week. And I'm going to help you with it now. And one of the things that you're going to have to do, I'll explain as we get there. I think that what I'll do is most of you can come up here, I think, and those who can't, will bring this to you, okay? What we have, I'm going to pull it closer so I can still use the microphone and explain. We have a table full of little containers. You each should have a container. Okay, but before I invite you up to do this task, and maybe you can do his for him, I'm going to explain how to do it. Uh-oh, I got too close to the speakers. Let's try that. Okay. Each of these cups has a funny little thing in it. These are called peat pots. They're little, they feel like cardboard. They're actually compressed peat moss. Inside each of them, is some soil. These are from pellets that you get at nurseries. When you add water and they expand. They have in them very rich soil and mulch and fertilizer all in one. You just add water and they expand, which we did last month. When they come, they look like checkers. They're about the size of checkers. Then you add water and they balloon up. So each of you is going to get one of these in one of these. Okay? Very, very exciting. Then you have a choice. You can have zucchini or carrots. Seeds. Okay? All you have to do is push a seed. Two carrot seeds. Just one carrot seed. One carrot seed, says the gardener. Okay. Into the little thing. And then kind of cover it over and add water. And I forgot to bring water, but you can take these now and do this, and then you can add water at fellowship to it a little bit and take it home. Now, your assignment is not done. You're to observe your seed. All of you teachers have probably done this. with your kids. It's going to spring up. It's going to spring up, and we'll probably have some kind of little sprout by next Sunday. Both these plants are supposed to be able to do this in about a week. So you should see some little green things. These are the zucchini. They're bigger than the carrot seeds. Then you still have to water them. When you see these things getting light, you should add water to them until they're dark brown again. And after a while, you'll be able to see a little more spring of it. And then there's some step which has a weird term that's called hardening the plant. Now, I had never heard of that. Sandy had. Have any of you heard of that? It just means when it's getting to be more of a real plant, you're getting it ready to go out and be strong and live in the dirt. You have to take about another week or so and let it grow, but you have to take it outside and give it some sun. Not sun, in the shade? Sun, and then bring it back in at night, or have it in a nice shady place. It's awfully hot now, so, don't leave it out all day or anything. But anyway, try to take care of your seed and let it sprout. Then once it gets to be much more bushy, you can just take this thing and stick it right in the ground, or in a pot. It will disintegrate along with the dirt, because it's just compressed peat moss. Okay? You got it? All right. Now the other task that you have while you're doing this carrot seeds and squash seeds. You're going to take one of these. You can just pick one at random. Honestly, they're all very nice. They are ABC Bible verses. For instance, B says, "Be kind to one another." And D says, "Do not be anxious about anything." J says, "Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever." So it doesn't matter. They're all very nice little verses. Just take one. Stick it on your refrigerator. Put it in your wallet. Your job is to memorize that verse this week. Don't worry, they're all very short. Okay? Your job is to memorize it and write it on your heart and grow it within you and care for it and even maybe share it. Okay? I know this seems like a weird little... The kids were going to do this too. Okay? So what we're doing is we are actually practicing tending our soil, growing our seed, growing that word within us and sharing it with others. Does that make sense? I hope it does. I hope it'll be fun. All right, so now I'm going to invite you to come up. I should have asked Sandy to think about playing something during this. Yes, I would like you to play something. Otherwise, you can get really bored. Okay. And I'll be up here to help you with these seeds, okay? The carrot seeds are kind of small, but she says it only needs one. So, come on up. Well, I hope we all have fun with that. Sandy and I have another half dozen of them at home that we planted pumpkin seeds in too. So I guess we'll have a Bethel vegetable garden in a bit. It's important for us to actually exercise our brains and our bodies together when we're learning these things. At least I think it is. So therefore, it must be important to me. Right? But this should actually help us have some personal discipline about reading our verse and learning our verse and tending the word and the seed that we're given. So that is, for me, the lesson of the parable of the sower.